What's up, guys? Mitch from Respect My Region back with another North American Weed Tour podcast episode 36. And today we have some of the guys from Maven Genetics. We have co-owner Shane and we have their head cultivator Chad on the line. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing great, Mitch. Thank you so
Great.
much for having us.
Hell yeah, man. So whereabouts in California do you guys kind of represent? What's the locale for Maven?
We are based out of the San Fernando Valley, Los Angeles area. Pretty much this whole area is where we kind of started the whole business run.
And you guys have been around for quite a while, man. What's the journey in cannabis been, and kind of what phases have you seen through obviously these different shifts from medical to recreational, and I mean pre that, beyond that? What's your guys' history with the plant?
Like, I don't know, traditionally back in the day before shops were licensed, used to vend to a lot of them. And then as the industry grew, it was nice to see those retails still hold their ground to get licensed, to where they didn't have to worry about their door getting kicked in every day. Just being based out of the San Fernando Valley and watching the growth of the whole industry, just the support of the culture and community to get the cannabis industry in the right direction. It's been awesome watching that and the support of the culture, just to get these retails licensed to have access to safe, clean meds and products.
Right.
And I would say for me, I grew up with two older brothers, and they used to smoke weed back in the day. And one was a Hesher, and I was always around it, so we kind of saw it, but around alcohol too, and never really took to alcohol. And it was kind of my outlet. Didn't really start growing at first, tried to do the law thing, and then kind of fell in love with the plant and fell in love with how it can the medical side of it, how it can alleviate stress, or how you can focus. And a lot for me was that was my outlet. My outlet was to smoke some bud at parties, not drink. And I felt in control, more than not doing the other stuff. So yeah, it kind of saved me from going into a bad path, I would say.
Awesome, man. And that's a beautiful thing about cannabis. I think has been so many things for so many people, and like you said, Shane, it's exciting to see the industry come to this point of legalization. Some people are all about it, all on board. Oh, we just had Chad probably drop out due to service.
I'll pop back on here in a minute.
Yeah. But people have been coming to this plan, and the recreation and legalization is bringing a lot of just cool aspects. Honestly, the thing that me and you could talk on the internet so freely about, the growth and the commerce of cannabis. There definitely was a time where that was not happening.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, like I do remember back in the day, just getting in, when I was going to college and all my friends were cultivating, and I was trying to figure out how to work an 8-hour job and go to school. It was just impossible. And then me having the resources that I did, I was able to move, packs back in the day. And then I got into cultivation, and then that just kind of kept the wheel turning. And that was allowing me that free time to go to school, cultivate when I was going to school, come back, vend, do whatever I did. And it's just been really neat watching the whole medicinal side of the cannabis industry finally be recognized and showcased and truly have a purpose, versus like the old stigma of where it came from. It's exciting to see it moving in the right direction. I feel like it's still very new, and I look forward to everything that's ahead for everyone that's pursuing this industry.
And it's got to be a trip too, to come from that past where you're probably hustling packs to have the ability to cultivate and go to school, and now you can go to school to learn how to cultivate, man.
I know. I think it's awesome, man. I think way back in the day, like if I really think back, there was Oaksterdam, and I used to know a gentleman from there. I think they're still around, but yeah, man, that was like one of the first educational schools I remember, and I'm sure there's plenty more now. But when I saw that happening, they were teaching the craft of cultivation and education about the plant. I was like, holy shit, man, this is it's going in the right direction. It was really neat to see.
Times are changing. So I know something that you guys have really been known for over at your grow is really like breeding, correct? Maven has been kind of on the forefront of breeding. How do you guys approach selecting genetics or breeding genetics? Like what goes into that process?
So that was why I really wanted to have Chad on the
Okay.
show, being director of cultivation. I'm hoping he pops back on here. I'm going to try to shoot him a message. I really like to give credit and voice to everyone in every department that works with us, because without them, this whole thing doesn't rotate as smoothly as it does. So I'm going to try to shoot Chad a text because I really prefer to have his voice
Sure.
represent like that strong side of the company. And let me give
Let's
me one
ping.
second. Sorry to
Let's
be doing
ping him.
this right in the middle of
No,
everything. Let me see here.
it's
Sorry, bud.
2021, man.
Right.
The service and being at the mercy of service and tech is brings us together and pulls us apart.
All right. Sorry about that. You guys can edit all this
No,
shit, right?
no worries. We can cut it. Yeah.
All right. Cool. But yeah, man, I'm stoked that you guys reached out. Podcasts for me and just being visible. I'm visible out in obviously for the growth of the company and the brand because I'm always out and about doing this. And to be on camera and having that voice is something definitely different for me. And
Sure.
it's cool. It takes some getting used to, and it's just awesome to have this type of voice where hopefully other people could recognize us and kind of hear what we're about as a company.
100%. 100%.
Let me see here. Yeah, it looks like Chad's phone died, so I'm going to call his partner. And sorry about this, man. This is like
No worries.
and then I'm pretty sure I could answer a couple of questions regarding that. I just wanted Chad to have that voice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I respect it.
Not here, not hearing it right
It's
now.
all good. We could talk. We could come back to the breeding, right? Because we got more to talk about.
Okay,
So
cool. Yeah, it looks like Chad's phone died. So I'm sure he'll chime in here in a second. He's a
sure.
dad of 3 young girls, and
Oh
so
yeah.
he's got a lot on his plate. But yeah, let's just run it, man. Whatever else I could answer, and we can move forward. And I'm sure he'll
Most
tap in here soon.
Yeah, most certainly. So I'd love to kind of talk about the origin of Maven Genetics as a company, right? We talked a little bit about the history, but yeah, if you could just kind of give me the insight of like when did Maven Genetics come together as a company and start owning that name?
So, as my partners were cultivating in warehouses and whatnot back in the day, like I said, I was vending to a lot of the shops from, all the San Fernando Valley throughout Los Angeles, wherever there was retail, back then. I was building a lot of relationships with those individuals. And then I remember, a lot of our OGs, because we were growing a lot of OGs in the pre-98 Bubba back then. This is back in the day when you're getting 7,200 a pound. This is when there was no competition, and OGs were like real OGs. They weren't crossed with anything, or I don't know. They were just way more true to strain when Kush was Kush, and
Yeah.
the OG, the PK. It just really shined, and I think I really like to think Exhibit, when he had that song come out back in the day and he was like Kush 500 an ounce. I don't know. I think all of us in the industry at that time were like, wow, man, like this is some special movement.
Mm.
So, with my partners growing in the warehouses and outlets that I had and they had, I just started seeing people submitting some of the strains that we grew towards like cannabis cups or contests and whatnot. I think some friends of ours called it the Saturn OG. It was called the Saturn, and they were winning awards, and other people were submitting product that we grew and getting awards. And this is back in the day, when the retails had jars, chopsticks, and whatnot. and you could actually see the bud that you're buying and engage with it, versus nowadays you have these shitty bud pods. So, you know, after seeing people doing this branding, whether it was on a bulk jar or there was like a name that was being recognized. And then I think our friends, you know, from Vader Extracts and like Dr. K that does Kush Stock, you know, watching them do their branding and just being around that, you know, when it came down to us brainstorming, I felt like there's like a ritual when you really appreciate quality, right? You do this pinch and smell test, and there's this ritual. I feel like people that do that are kind of connoisseurs because you're really paying attention to the quality of the product that you're engaging with. When it came to Maven, I was just looking, trying to be influenced, running ideas by my partners. And what it really came down to is there's a connoisseur level of craft cultivation, and being very particular on how you grow and making sure that you put quality out to the marketplace. We were never guys that just grew to cultivate cannabis. We were very particular on our quality. I saw the term connoisseurs butchered. You know, everyone was a connoisseur. And I think the group and I really wanted to look at something that was a little bit more on the discreet side. So at the end of the day, Maven means connoisseurs, but it's Yiddish, and it means experts in a specific field, ones of knowledge, or connoisseurs. And we kind of liked that because it wasn't so in your face, and we wanted to curate a logo that we felt was, you know, hopefully timeless, that we could continue to elaborate on and just present a nice presentation with a good quality product inside.
Awesome. And so, you know, with the state of cannabis right now, there's a lot of the race to the bottom, you know, and pricing, and along with that, the quality. You know, I've talked to a couple people, and there's this guy, David Abernathy, who we talked about how cannabis and, you know, like wine, a couple of these consumer sectors have like culture connoisseurship, to touch on what you're talking about. Where do you envision, or where do you kind of see that role of the connoisseur in the cannabis market? Because clearly the bulk of volume goes to low barrel, but it clearly still drives the culture, you know, that connoisseur market. So where do you kind of see that, and what do you feel like that impact on the rest of the market they have?
So regarding like quality, first off, I see a lot of great flower coming out from a lot of good companies as this industry grows, and new strains. And just like I see this like quality and innovation really getting fine tuned and getting much better, to where like there's not just so few companies putting out quality. So that's exciting to see, because I appreciate everyone that does cultivation, because I know how hard it is. It's definitely not an easy job. And like, I really do take my hat off to like a lot of those great cultivators out there, whether it's like on a boutique style or boutique scale, even to the big boys that are out there doing huge operations. So I would like to see more of the quality aspect thrive, because I mean, you could always have, I don't know, I could use alcohol in a term, it's like your Budweiser, or you could have like your craft beers, you know, like your Stone. So I like to see everyone kind of win together. When you get to the whole concept of the race to the bottom, yeah, like absolutely. I feel like there's been a lot of people that have been wanting to get into this industry for a long time, but we're still kind of shy because of the whole stigma of everything. I feel like not having an outlet with the abundance of cultivation going on, and everyone just kind of like looking at money, rubbing their hands together, thinking they're going to hit it big by going big. I just don't really feel like that was the right approach. And I feel like that is the very beginning race to the bottom. Like, to be frank, it's like everyone wants to have the bigger dick. And for me, it was just like, you guys could win and have it. Who cares? Like, let's just try to figure out how to put quality out to the industry. So I don't know, not to get off tangents, but like, there's a lot of large cultivations going on. And with that and no outlets, everyone's scrambling to try to get rid of their product at the cheapest price, just to redeem some financial gains back. And if that's not happening, it's going straight into manufacturing. So that's dropping the price of distillate, like pretty much everything across the board. And I think it's super sad to see, because these farmers work their ass off. Like if you've ever been to a good cultivation,
Right.
it's hard work. And I think these farmers should definitely get paid what they're worth and maintain a value to cannabis.
And so, how much square feet are you guys operating with at your facility?
Shit, man. I know we have 3 facilities. We just got 11 acres up in Santa Barbara. Um, Square footage is something I don't know off the top of my head, but between our 3 facilities, we have roughly over 1,400 lights
Okay,
indoor right
wow.
now. And we have potential, for a piece of dirt that we've been sitting on for quite some time up in Greenfield. Being a self-funded group, we kind of have to scale within our means.
Yeah.
And I think in the future here, we have potential to do, we have the plans for it. We've been really sitting on this for about 7 years. We have the potential to do another 1,200 out of one facility.
I think we got
Hey guys.
Chad back. What's going on, man?
Perfect timing, Chad. Thank you for cutting out right when you were getting into the cultivation question.
Yes.
I know. I asked a question, man. You left him hanging. He dropped the dime, bro, and you just had to lay it up. But
there you go.
Thanks, Chad.
What was that question?
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I know you guys are into breeding, so I was really curious about what is the ethos and the process that goes into what strains you select, how you approach breeding, and what's the process of what strains you go after and what strains you end up putting on the market.
Right. So yeah, I mean, we have a couple strains that we've had for a long time that we're breeding into right now. Our selection process, it's a lot to do with we listen to a lot of people as far as like what breeders to go after. We pop a lot of seeds, a ton of seeds. And through those seeds, we'll find keepers of females and males, and structure, smell, yield time, all of it plays a big role. And it's not just me, it's everybody. The whole team's in on it. We do a lot of this R&D where a lot of our workers will give us feedback on the stuff before it even makes it to the, to like maybe a small round in the facility. But when we select males, I mean, we're selecting males for structure and smells and flowering time, like to breed into the strains we already kind of have running. And we're looking for something from that male that's through the lineage. We'll look for a certain smell or a certain color or a certain feeling when you smoke it. It's a long process. Stuff doesn't just happen. It's like year-long process before anything reaches the consumer. So there's a lot that goes into it.
What are some of the favorite things that you look for in genetics? I know everybody's got different things. I mean, it might be the whole package. That's not a wrong answer, but what are some of those characteristics that mean the most to you as a personal consumer?
So for me, the looks really isn't part of it. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's, the consumer wants to see a pretty looking flower. But for me, the first thing is the smell. Honestly, like if it's catching my nose, I could care less what it looks like. And then, obviously when you smoke it, I want it to smell good. I want to inhale that taste and I want to breathe that taste out. And I'm really kind of picky when it comes to it now, because that's what does it for me. If it has the whole package, and of course the feeling you get from the strains, a lot of times, like, I work all the time, man, so I can't be knocked on my ass. Like I have to think. And, I do lean towards more of an OG kind of feeling. That's been my go-to since I can remember when we first got it in. That's what I particularly like. That might not mean what most customers like that goes through, but yeah, it's flavor, it's taste. That's my thing.
Yeah. I've found that to be common a lot across a lot of cultivators. They're like, I don't give a fuck what it looks like.
Yeah,
but obviously the consumer, like you said, if it doesn't look right in a jar, someone's not going to reach for it.
It's unfortunate. Hopefully, it comes around where the consumer gets to try a lot of stuff, and once they taste it and smoke it, they'll be believers. But yeah, a lot has to do with just the look, just the aesthetics of it.
Right. And, you know, we got to get people educated because back in the day, you know, your plug might drop that pack off and be like, I know it
Right.
looks like shit, but this is killing on the smoke. And, you know, if that's the only selection for your clientele, they have to buy it. But usually, if that's the message, those people always come back like, damn, that shit was some kill.
I'm still searching for that stuff from back in the day. I have some strains that we used to just get and like, where are they? Where'd they go? You know, like,
Yeah, died in a raid somewhere.
right.
It's sad, yeah. So, you know, I know you guys have both been mentioning the OG. I have to ask a question because of your location, the San Fernando Valley OG, SFV OG. What's your guys' history with that? Is it really like as impactful down there as it's imprinted on the rest of the world?
Well, you know, like these guys gave me OGs. Shane and his crew brought OG into my life. I brought in the pre 98 Bubba back in the day, and this was right around the late 90s, man. We had it. And that was the strain back then. And then when I got hit with the OG, I never looked back on that. It was the one that did it for me. I mean, I could smoke it. I smoked it all through college, you know, like take my tests, was ready to go. It didn't, you know, it did it for me. So it's something that I'm just constantly like, I feel great on it. You know, that's kind of my thing.
And what about you, Shane? What's your experience with the SFV OG and just the history of that area and the OG Kush? I know we talked about it a little bit earlier.
I miss those days, man. I just like the real PK Kush.
The PK, bro.
At its peak, man, was just like the best, like OG. The smell, the structure, it was just like it was such a beautiful strain. The legend out there, Josh D, man, like he's part of the family tree, and he's definitely had a lot to do with that name and just everything that strain had to offer to the whole San Fernando Valley and the quality and the hype and what it just really I don't know, it's just a very special strain, and I think the LA market and San Fernando Valley is the OG is king.
I mean, over 20 years later, we're still talking about it, man. You know,
Something special happened.
Yeah,
Bro, yeah.
I'm a consumer that, you know, as far as a consumer, I live in Washington. I spend a lot of time in California, but that's one of my favorite things about California is like you guys got so many good selections of OGs. Like, I feel like, I don't know, up here, it's very rare to see it. If someone does do OG Kush, it's almost guaranteed it's going to be some whack, you know. But you guys got so many selections of good Kush out there.
The first one that I hit, I don't know where. I mean, we still have our triple X, and that thing that rocks it. But I remember the PK back in the day, and it looked totally different, man. Like I used to get it in sacks, and it would just reek up your car. And yeah, I mean, you know, we'd buy grams back then. You know, it's like, and it just went. So you know, you buy it all the way up, 560 an ounce. That was the price.
Like, $70 an eighth.
Dude, it didn't matter, dude.
No, it didn't. And people were like, it was that good of a strain that like when you smelled it, you looked at it, there was no question about it. It was what you wanted. It was like I don't know. It was like the highest end quality cannabis like that was really hitting the market.
Yeah, and that's something we're doing now with our triple X. We're breeding with our triple X. You know, trying to bring some of that out, some of that nostalgia out that we found back then.
And so I know you said, you know, earlier it might take you a year to get one of those strains. How long are you willing to commit to getting a strain the way you
as long as it takes, bro. As long as it takes. As long as these guys will let me play around with it, yeah. As long as it takes, man, because it's a process, but it's a fun process. And at the end of the day, you create something that's legendary like an OG, and you know that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Yeah, there was one strain I had to ask you guys about. I don't know if Joey had brought it up earlier. So when we did our West Coast weed tour in last year, 2020, we reviewed a bunch of weed from up and down the West Coast, and you guys actually had the top scoring weed with your gelato gas. I think it was 97.5. So I don't know if you guys saw that. I don't even think I personally got to try it. I didn't do any of the review. Well, I smoked a lot of the weed we reviewed, but I didn't physically write the reviews. but that was one of our top strains, man. Was that a hitter for you guys? Was that a good one? I think we got it just chance off a retail shelf somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I love that strain. I mean, it has our Skywalker OG in it, so you get that OG hit on it, and you get that gelato flavor, that cream flavor. So, yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful strain. I think a lot of people loved it, you know. So it's good. It's nice to hear that that was so many people actually enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, we reviewed, we personally, a small group of our team reviewed over 300 products across the West Coast last year. A lot of flower, no flower. I mean, no flower hits 100. It's very rare because, like we were talking about earlier, like it's very rare a flower is a 10 on 10 in every category.
We're gonna get it, bro. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get
Hey,
it.
we welcome all challenges, but we try to be real nitpicky just because. And it's also a tribute to that, right? Like some things that you just like love might not look as good as something, like, I don't know, Tropicana cookies, right? Might smell and look as good, but the high's lacking. So, it's definitely tough for our scale for a flower to hit 100, but a 97.5. I mean, most good stuff is like low 90s. Like,
we'll come down to the facility and try some of the R&D strains so we get a little better insight on that.
Hey man, if there's an invite, I'm taking next time I'm out in LA, man. I'm pulling up. So
absolutely, man.
Yeah. So no, that I just wanted to let you guys know that was a big one for us. We smoke a lot of weed, and we work with some companies, but we just go to a lot of dispensaries, ask what's hot, buy some stuff on the shelf, and review it on some categories. And you guys were the top one across all 3 states score wise, and then obviously for the state.
We appreciate that. Where are you from? Where are you guys located?
I live in the Seattle area. Joey, who was on here earlier, has lived in LA for 2 years, but we've been doing that campaign. Yeah. We didn't do it this year, but the 3 years prior, we did events and then drove up and down, just checking out facilities and just, like I said, some part of it's like, advertising promotion with some people, but we're also consumers. So we just, everywhere we go, we're buying a lot of asking people what's the best, put it in the bag.
I know up there in Seattle and Oregon, you guys are hard to please. Good weed up there. So it means a lot for you to say that.
Thank you. I mean, you guys, California sets the standard for sure for the culture, but we definitely, up here been growing craft style for a long time. And
bro, I got some from back in the day from Washington, and it was like I broke it out of the bag. It was like I could look in the mirror. It was all shiny, It was like, yeah, this is some fire.
Most certainly. And so, another question I wanted to ask you, it's a hot topic. People wrote blog posts and shit about this, but the term exotic, and people have different definitions for this. What does exotic cannabis mean to both of you guys? We could start with Chad or Shane, whoever wants to kick it off.
I mean, to me, exotic is something that I haven't seen before, like honestly. But I think a lot of the consumer in it's anything purple. If it's got purple in it, exotic. And honestly, that is an exotic to me, because back in the day we didn't get much purple. It was a lot of green weed, maybe even a lot of red-haired weed, and like the purple Urkel, but anything that I'm not used to on the flavor or like in our circle, it's like, oh, we haven't tasted this before. It's an exotic flavor. It's an exotic strain if it has a different structure to it. Color means a lot, I think, out there. It's kind of a weird term, because exotic should be from a faraway land or something. But
right. Right. What about you, Shane? What's exotic mean to you?
I don't know. I think exotic to me is almost like that unicorn, in today's market, when what people are calling exotic, it just seems to be flat to me, where everything has to be purple, and they're overlooking the real qualities of good cannabis. Even if it's green, they ignore it, and they're not even paying attention to what it has to offer. So I don't know, the term in today's word of like exotic, it just seems a little flat. I'm just going to have to say that it just has to be purple or something with color. Mm-hmm. Whereas in my mind, I'd have to agree with Chad. It would have to be something unique, something you haven't really seen before, something that's not common. It's just probably that unicorn that you don't really see quite often at all. That would be my definition of exotic. Not purple.
And then so at some point, then once it gets played out to you, it loses the terminology exotic. It's just some regs now.
No, not really. There's a lot of fire purple. I mean, going back on it, it is something that's just we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Honestly, what might be exotic to us may not be exotic to you. It's just something that hasn't been in our circle, and we as a group haven't seen before. Something is making it different than the normal weed that we've been around all of our lives.
And so what kind of strain flavor profile do you envision being the next hype one? We were on the gelato train. We went to the runch train, which is a derivative of gelato, doubling down on the cream and the gas.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to stay in that lane for a while, or do you think we're going to branch to the left or the right?
It's a hard one, man. I'm an OG head, so like you give me anything with that gas flavor, I'm like, that pooky taste, man. That's what I like. But I tell you what, I just smoked some stuff. We on a pheno hunt. It was a Cherry West strain, and it tasted just like cherry. The looks wasn't there. I think a Y East was the breeder, and it was beautiful. It tasted great, but the looks wasn't there. So that was something unique to me. We are breeding with one of the males on it right now, so we'll see how that comes out. But if it has great flavor that I haven't tasted before, then then I'll mess with it for sure.
See it through.
Yep.
Yeah, the gelato craze. Were you? I mean, obviously the gelato gas, you guys had one, but how do you guys feel? You guys feel like you have to have a gelato in the lineup, or you feel like you choose to just because of the it's something you guys enjoy that much?
I think it's what the consumers dictating right now. What the dispensaries are telling us. If it's going and I can't speak for Shane's part. But I think that's where the route it's going right now.
And so what do you see, Shane, as far as at the retail level? Do you feel like the culture kind of moves in sync with these genetics and these waves, or do you feel like the consumer is a little bit late to what's hot and really drives demand, and that's why we're seeing some of these things kind of, like gelato's definitely, I love it, but I feel like from a consumer standpoint,
we're already played out
welcome,
on it,
right?
Yeah.
As the top dog.
I think the culture creates a lot of movement like towards the recognition of these, and then it like kind of catches on and creates that buzz. And that's what I think is really special about the cannabis culture, is because they look at these strains from like a connoisseur standpoint to create that hype and the recognition that these strains deserve. So I don't know. I mean, I like to see everything kind of flourish, and I could see it's really hard to really forecast anything because this industry is so fast paced and wild. It's hard to ever predict any type of like trend. So I think with the varieties that we are constantly going through to make sure that we deliver, and what we've been working on, and Chad and Aaron over in our cultivation, everything that we've been working on hard the past year is just now starting to showcase. And we are definitely excited, and we feel like the brand is almost getting a reset with all these new strains that are kind of going to be coming to the market. That's just creating it from seed with cross-pollination and everything. It's giving the brand like a whole new feel, like we're starting new, and we're excited about that.
I'm an old school guy, so if it's something that I remember from back in the day, like I still like Blue Dream. I know that's like nobody likes that, but I still like those old school. Yeah.
I like the Super Silver Haze.
It's the Jacker, like all that stuff, man. Like I'm like brings me back, and I do feel there'll be I think there'll be a rebound on that. I think people are still looking for them. It's just that was played out back in the day. So, but now, I do. If it's a good one around, I want to smoke it.
A good New York diesel or a good sour D is always nice.
Yeah, sour D. Like God, man, like you don't see them anymore. But when they're done right, they're killers.
I still miss that real PK though.
Oh, the PK, yeah.
They're still searching. And I think that's something too with like kind of those more, landrace or retro strains, for a lack of a better word, right? Like I think a lot of the people on the cutting floor, like even as you guys yourselves, are kind of constantly following the cycle of cannabis, is searching for what's better, what's new, how can we improve on these genetics. and you see a lot of the guys that kind of put the more straightforward, easy genetics, you know, where seeds are super cheap, are lower quality people. So when you see that Jack or that Blue Dream, it's usually some budget stuff that was just mass produced. You know, there's not a lot of guys taking that craft approach to a more boring strain to some person's eyes. But I mean, like we said, if anything looks good, smells good, and is killing, like, the market's not going to turn it down.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, the cat, we used to have the cat piss back in the day, you know, it's like, where's that? I had a strain called the Red Puss. I know I probably shouldn't be saying that, but man, that strain hit. It hit so good. Yeah, the skunk back in the day. It's just,
I had some cat piss, and a guy got an eighth off me, got his dorm room raided, and got a charge for it through the campus. But he came back and bought a quarter, man. He was like,
of course,
so stoked that he's like, this weed was so stinky, they raided my room over it.
Yeah.
He was the homie. He didn't snitch, so shout out him, man. But that's that cat piss, man. So I've talked to a couple people and tried to envision, like, you know, where we go next. I know we're just kind of having that conversation flavor profile wise, and a couple people have brought up thinking that we'll go back to some of these old school strains, Landraces. How do you guys feel about that? You feel like kind of to continue that conversation, you feel like it has a place and might potentially play a bigger role here in the future, or you think we're just gone off the deep end of new?
I love it. I want to please people. I want to grow what they want to smoke, you know. So if we go back, like I said, it brings me back to back in the day when I didn't have much worries, you know. You know, we have a lot of responsibility to do. So I personally welcome it.
I'm with you, Chad. I agree, man. I would like to see those old strains make their comeback, and it'd be awesome just to see like all the different cultivators that are putting their best effort to the quality, and then just comparing each person's craft with.
Yeah, and that's just it, right? I mean, you'd have somebody grow the OG, and then you'd have somebody else, and they almost were like two different strains right there. So it really does come down to craft at that rate.
Yeah, which brings me to another question: is like, you know, the process of a lot of people make this promise, but the craft at scale, or taking craft to scale, growing craft at scale. You know, what's your guys' approach to be able to grow craft and connoisseur level cannabis? But obviously, as a business, you're going to want to scale that to some regard, whether it's factory mega level production or at least just increasing canopy. I mean, it's something that you're obviously going to have to do as the brand grows. What are some of the obstacles and like the process that, you know, that's put forth into that?
I mean, it's evolved so much, but when we're in our facilities, it's all about just keeping everything clean, running all of our numbers on point, having the labor to do what we need to do, you know, because it's things can get away from you. So the consistency, being consistent. Back in the day, you know, we read labels on bottles and things that it did what it did to the plants, but now we know that was a bunch of marketing and you know, so having like this crew around me, having the resources that we have to be able to hone my craft and hone everybody's craft, but like, you know, get the defoliation done, get the IPM done, and have the money for the right lights or the ACs and the DUEs and to dial in that environment. You know, sky's the limit at that point. It's definitely, it's not a cheap endeavor. And it's not an easy endeavor. And you know, some people think growing cannabis is easy, and it's not at this level. And it takes a lot of manpower and a lot of thinking, you know, a lot of troubleshooting, because every day something hits you and you're like, you know, where did this come from? And you got to pivot and you got to make the right decision. And, you know, so I love it because I'm always up for a challenge. I'm always up to network with fellow cultivators and figure things out because, you know, like recently, like the hop latent thing everybody's talking about. I mean, it's real. That stuff's real. That's out everywhere, even from tissue culture, and it's coming down. And you got to learn how to mitigate it. You know, so growing on a big level is
curing too. Curing's huge. You could grow all you want. Oh. You could have all of that going on, and I think people are always such in a rush for it to hit the market. Curing is everything, man. Like if you're not curing in the right in the room temperatures and dehu and everything, and then you package it accordingly, I mean, the terpene profiles that come off a nicely cured harvest, man, is like, there's no need to rush a good thing. Curing's key.
I mean, from seed, when we get a seed in, we have a process of cleaning that seed all the way through veg, flower, drying, curing, packaging. It's all quality controlled. It's crazy how far we've come. People that walk through these facilities, back in the day, there was like, it was really, really crap, and it is still really, really crap, but there's just so much structure there now to ensure that the product comes out as good as it can, as least handled and as clean as good as it can.
And so where you're at in the process now, do you feel it's as easy as like copy and pasting or doubling square footage, following the same SOPs, or is it just a whole new beast every room?
Every facility we build, everything is it all have its own life, honestly. Everywhere you're at, it's you got to feel the facility, you got to feel what the conditions are, the microclimates. It's just all different. It'd be so easy to just cookie cutter stuff, but it's not like that.
To get it set up is one thing, it's just the fine tuning.
To a point, it's like that, but it's when it really comes to dialing in, it's not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And does that create issues where you guys try and grow the same strain at multiple facilities? Do you end up allocating specific facilities to specific strains, or are you guys comfortable taking it, or is it too much of a process to kind of get the consistency across places?
You nailed it right there. We will grow certain strains at certain facilities because they seem to do better. They like the climate, they like maybe the light intensity, and we'll try to dial it in as consistent as possible. And some strains do run through multiple facilities and come out super consistent, but some strains love,
do better than others in certain rooms.
Yeah, I mean, we have at one of our facilities, we have a couple smaller rooms, so we're able to just dial that room in for a specific strain that is finicky. But other strains can commingle in the same room.
Yeah. What do you feel like the state of California cannabis pricing is at this current moment? Again, coming from up here in the Pacific Northwest, I feel like we have very affordable pricing. People up here might complain, but you travel a little bit, you'll be thankful for it. How do you guys feel? I mean, I know it's outside of your guys' control because retailers got to market up crazy, and then almost half
taxes,
of it
bro. Taxes.
Yeah. the BCC and the taxes that are implemented, it's such bullshit, and I just feel like there's a lot of corruption and unfairness and just capitalism on something that they see as like a fixer or an outlet for financial gains for their problems. When we're sitting here busting our ass, we just feel like we're getting robbed all the time. And I really hope that changes for the benefit of the whole cannabis community and culture. The taxes that are implemented are extremely unfair. And a lot of the consumers just want to point fingers at retails or the brands. And that's definitely not where any of the high prices are coming from. I will always value the craft of cannabis. I highly disagree with the taxes.
Yeah, in the cultivation, there's a lot of practices we follow. I mean, I think we're one of the most regulated crops on earth. So there's a lot of practices we follow that is not necessarily due to the craft. We have to do this track and trace thing. We have to for our waste and all this other stuff. It definitely takes money to do that. So the consumer feels it. If a lot of those regulations were lifted off of us, it'd be a lot better. The consumer would see the price drop, but now they're just everywhere along the way. They're kind of disconnected from what's inside a cultivation of what we do, and they'll put stuff on us, and we have to follow it. I mean, we follow everything by the book. I welcome anybody to walk through and check out the facility because I mean we're by the book on all that stuff. But it does take a lot to be by the book. It does take a lot of resources to be by the book.
Absolutely. I mean, hit on the head. It does take a lot of resources to operate in legal cannabis, and the lack of tax incentives, how cash heavy you have to be for everything, the upcharges or the cannabis tax on services, HVACs, all that, it all comes with it. And it's funny, they talk about, I think it's to say like 80% of the cannabis sold in California is still like black market transactions. And just in my mind, I keep having this thought, this conversation publicly is that they lower the tax prices. Cannabis is the pricing's more on par with the black market.
Yeah, makes
They're gonna
sense.
choose the rec market due to accessibility and convenience and selection almost every time. And you're gonna have less taxes per transaction, but far more transactions.
I agree with
Right
you.
on.
Won't
Right.
lose the money, you know?
More affordable, you're going to go be sourcing it more often.
And this is the thing, this is the biggest thing I think in the legal market. You know what you're smoking. You're not smoking anything that's been sprayed. All of our stuff goes through such a rigorous process. I mean, people wear scrubs in the facility when they're growing weed. So like, you're not, it's just really, really clean stuff. So back in the day, you don't know. I mean, I smoked this stuff back in the day, but you don't know what you were smoking back in the day.
Lots of phospholode.
Oh man, I used to get brickweed, and you'd find stuff in it. So.
Right. And that's, a couple of my friends that are cultivators said that, echoed that, where they're like, back in the day when we grew, we didn't know what we were spraying on it. You spray something to kill the bugs and make the nugs hella fat. That's all, you did it because someone else did it. And you're like,
Someone
no,
did
this
it.
makes
Yeah.
it better. You didn't have that education or that, mainstream level of communication to find out, maybe we shouldn't be doing that
Right.
on something we're
Right.
going to combust and inhale. What's your guys' approach to, generating clean? I know you mentioned having a clean facility. What's kind of the approach to making sure you're growing in a clean environment and the end product is clean?
I mean, our focus over there is plant health. So we try to get the plant as healthy as it can and use biologicals instead of maybe like oils and other pesticides. But every pesticide we use has to be crossed through the Department of Ag. We usually send them a label. And if it's like rosemary or a thyme oil, or mineral oil or whatever, what have you, it has to go through that process first to make sure it's okay for the consumer. But I mean, the least I can spray, the better. So we do use a lot of predatory insects. We use nematodes. We use beneficial bacteria, beneficial fungi, sterilizing agents. The more that we can not mess with the plant, mess with the flower, the better. So, and that's our regimen. It's usually reactive if there's something in the facility, because stuff will come in. It comes in on people. Like it's hard to keep 100% clean facility. So if you see something, you need to react real quick. You need to make sure it doesn't spread, and then just kind of treat that area or take that plant out of the area. But with our IPM right now, with the biologicals we're using and the predatory bugs, knock on wood, we've been pretty good. So.
Yeah, like you said, it's a constant process, people, and I don't think consumers understand that. Like you said, these, I don't know if you call it a virus, honestly, but viruses or these diseases, these plant diseases start spreading and they come from nowhere. And even when you have a completely isolated, sealed facility somewhere, it can still pick up those tiniest.
Yeah, I mean, we test our incoming water, and down here in LA, I tested incoming water and I saw fusarium in the incoming water. You have to sterilize that before it gets to the plants, So we try to be proactive on everything, even around the facility, looking at what's kind of growing around the facility. You got to be as clean as it's the perfect environment for something bad to come in, but luckily we have a lot of scouts. We have a lot of people looking at the plants. Eyes are on them all the time. But something will happen. Something will pop up and we'll have to react and hopefully make the right decision and mitigate the problems.
Awesome. Yeah. It's a never-ending progress of refining.
Never ending.
Absolutely.
It's part of the fun. It's part of the fun, man.
Never a dull moment.
And so, with that, Shane, you alluded to that you guys are, you feel like you're kind of coming out with a rebrand with these new list of strains. So when are those gonna start dropping for the people? Have they already started dropping? And kind of what's in store that you can let loose? Some of it might stay tight-lipped.
So I think it's a slow roll right now as we've done these micro batches. So we'll put these micro batches out based on yield, and then we'll package that up. We'll hit it to the market. We'll see what the feedback is as we're prepping everything, and then as we're prepping those plants and we're getting feedback, and we feel like we're on to something due to the positive or negative or how it takes with the partnering retails that we have. Then we'll start laying down heavier rows. And we'll project what's ahead. Right now, we have Chad, the Gadzooks and the Ajo Blanco, we have the LA Rouge, we have the Affogato. I mean, the list goes on and on right now, and that's just a couple.
Yeah, they keep me busy, man.
You know, we have a lot, and I think that's what's really exciting is that sense of newness and that excitement. And I think when we just went through roughly, Chad, I don't know, what was it, like 25 strains recently from just real small micro batches.
Yeah.
They were so difficult to choose what we want to put in full production. And I think that's the excitement level that we're on right now, is knowing that we just had this 25 micro batches, and it was tough to make a decision on what we want to put in full production. So, it's an exciting time for us, and I feel like we're just kind of scratching the surface. I don't know, we have such a great team, and it's just great to see everyone shine in each department to, make this whole thing come together.
Yeah, talking about exotic strains, man. All of them got exotic foreign sounding names on those guys, man.
Yeah, we've got.
I don't name them.
I don't know,
they
man.
don't use my names on this stuff, man.
we really just pay attention to like terpene profiles and how relative they are to the plant, and what those terpenes have to offer. I feel like the industry is a little backwards right now, just focusing on THC percentage. I feel like it's a phase right now, and I think people are becoming more educated and more aware of like more of the purpose of the plant, versus like this THC thing. And I like that the audience and the patients and customers are paying attention to those details. It just adds to the quality of the craft.
Absolutely. And that's, as bad as it is, right? Because even again, as a consumer, I'm not a cultivator, but I've been to enough facilities and, got enough information that I know, THC doesn't matter. And it's not as bad on the West Coast, but I was just on the East Coast for the first time. And like every dispensary I went to was what's the most fire, what's the best weed you have? And they're like, well, I've organized this list by THC percentage.
Right,
and I'm just like, oh my God, please give me someone else to talk to.
It's unfortunate.
It could be pretty simple, man. I think you guys nailed it earlier. It's just the nose. There's just that thing where you just the nose, and you smell it, and I think you kind of know what you're into based on that, and I just really look forward to this industry maturing and the direction it's going, and all the other properties of these unique strains, being appreciated.
Yeah. So what to you guys, what does THC mean beyond just consumer demand?
I think it does mean a little bit, honestly, like when you're smoking something that's super low THC, sometimes you might not feel much, the high is definitely a big part of it, for me at least. But I think it's overemphasized. I do think in the low 20s, you're going to find a fire strain, even maybe in the 15 to 20 range.
Even in the teens.
Even in the teens, you're going to find a fire strain. And I think just a lot of people are turned off that anything under 22, they're like, whoa, it's not going to be good. I do hope that changes. I do hope that changes, but it seems like it's dictating the market right now. It's really probably just education, and then just people trying stuff, and maybe word of mouth of like, hey, don't look at just THC percentage, but try Maven, try this strain. Right now all of our stuffs are hit high THC because that's kind of where the market's been going. But through the breeding program, maybe something will change our mind on a lot of this stuff, and it will go through.
And with our breeding, see, the thing too about that is we would have so many more strains right now to add to our menu if the market wasn't so focused on 28 and above. We have tons of beautiful strains coming in at like 23, 24, and unfortunately we have to sell those to white label brands because the market doesn't really. We're not going to put that in our product or in our packaging because we understand that it may cause a hiccup for movement. So unfortunately, man, our menu would be so solid. The other blessing besides that is all the new strains that we've been putting out and the results coming from seed have kind of balanced things out to where we're getting an increase in THC percentage.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that all the ones we could have to offer are being overlooked due to the percentage. So
yeah, we are breeding for high THC percentage along with taste and everything else. You know, it has to hit all the marks right now. It's tough, but we'll see how it goes as more people become educated about it, as more strains come out, and that they, you know, hopefully it changes a little bit on that. Hopefully people are more focused on all the cannabinoids and all the terpenes. You know, hopefully that education comes. We've been talking about it deeply in our circle about how people are classifying hybrids, sativas, and indicas, and looking more at like a scientific COA on the terpene levels, on the cannabinoid levels, and trying to curate that way. But it's tough, man. It's like people kind of they know more on the sativa hybrid indica. Like that's, oh, I only like indicas. Well, maybe you don't.
Right.
You know, maybe
like the
don't.
terpene profiles of that.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. And that, you know, I agree. I think there's that disconnect where people are in this industry are really in the know, have this understanding, and the consumer clearly does. You know, there's a gap, which is it's not surprising just how new the industry, the education, and the communication of said education is. And I think the sativa indica hybrid makes it easy. You know, it dumbs it down
It
real
does.
simple. Some people get so offended, like, oh, it's not that, it's not the real. And you're like, man, it just communicate that fucking college speak to everybody else. They're not going to get it, you know. But what's the approach if you have a strain that's not? I mean, you just let me know. It doesn't make it in the jar, you know, the Maven jar, if it's not hitting a certain THC level. If you find something you like, Chad, is it a quest to bring the THC percentage up in that, or sometimes do you know right away this is not going to get to 30 and maintain what I like about it?
You know, I'll definitely voice my opinion on what I like. Yeah. So, but
That's
I'm
like one
not
of
the
those
final
tug-of-war
say.
battles with cultivation.
Yeah, none
And
of us are the final say. Honestly, it's a team effort all the way around. So
yeah.
it's I think everything hits a little different for most people. So, but the quest to make the quality the best on a strain is always there. So you know, if we didn't hit quite, if something we love and we didn't quite hit the levels, we'll definitely keep running it and see if it's an environmental, if it's a nutrient that we can try to boost these levels, or even a length of time, you know, that's cultivar needs to be grown at. So we we don't just let go of strains. That's our problem right now. We kind of pack rat this
Shuffling it
stuff,
to other
man.
facilities in other rooms to see what it does.
Oh
If
man,
it does
we have
better at
so
this
many
room
that
than
we
that facility.
bank, bro. Like it's too many. So I wish we had more room to just bank a bunch of stuff, but maybe with the tissue culture lab, we'll be able to really bank strains for a long time.
Yeah, get the library right. And that was going to be my other thing is like how long, you know, clearly you're trying to hold on to these strains for as long as you can. Do you feel like sometimes they just end up, you know, as seeds and you're not continuing to clone them and keep them in the library?
Well, the winners always stay in the library, no matter what. They'll be off to the side, even if they're not getting produced for production. So, we haven't, you know, on the breeding program, we are keeping seeds from everything we pop just to have stuff along. I think once we find a cultivar we want to keep, it's with us. We're not going to give it up.
I think
And
the
that
best part
brought me
about
to the,
well, we have our
yeah,
nursery coming up soon too. So we have the property up in Santa Barbara that we're currently working with and getting it fine tuned. And I think the beautiful thing about that is the expansion and the capability to hold on to these strains at the nursery is going to be awesome.
That's man, that's the progression right there to get the library just as deep as possible and
yep.
continue to refine. Um, Man, you know, we're about at an hour. What I like to keep these at, so I would like to just open the floor. Is there anything else you guys would like the people to know about Maven Genetics? Or, you know, we gave them the small batches getting refined and coming. Is there anything else you'd like the people to know?
And I would say about all the team I work with, they're all professional growers, man. We've all been doing it for a long time. I mean, I've been doing it since, I don't know, 95, dude, like in my backyard in high school. You know, we've all been doing this for so long, love the plant. It's our life, really, you know, like it's kind of like something that We just, I mean, I'm a chef too. I just want to please people. I want to be able to grow the best stuff for you guys. You know, like we put a lot of heart into it, and work and love into it, man. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the best part about our whole team at Maven Genetics is everyone just contributes to the overall presentation and delivery of what we truly believe that the cannabis culture deserves as far as quality. And we're never going to really overlook that. We're never going to be those guys just to keep growing on a large scale. Chad and Aaron Batesh and my partner Mike, Dave, Miguel, just our whole family is so involved and enthusiast, and just we really do have a passion for this plant, and it's just done so much for just so many reasons, and we're very fortunate to have the team that we have to make this all come together.
Yeah, I wanted to let you guys know I'm not one of those Chads, and Chad's a bad word nowadays. I didn't come from money, guys. Shit.
You're Chad the dad. You're not Chad the
we didn't have money. I went to public school. I grew in my garage. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not one of those Chads.
Do you own boat shoes though? Do you own a pair?
Do I own what?
You own a pair of boat shoes though?
I do not own a boat shoes. I wear socks. I wear dad socks. So I want to break that stigma right now.
That's fucking hilarious. I wasn't even thinking it. All right, it didn't even come to my mind while talking to you.
It's going around, dude. Every time I see on Instagram, it's like the Chads of the industry. I'm like, fuck, dude. Really? Why did my mom got to name me this?
It's just nice to be looked at as like a legacy brand. People that have really put a lot of risk to pave the road and allow that voice to be heard for everybody that wanted to get in or wants to get into the industry. We dodged a lot of bullets and really stood our ground.
I still watch my back when I leave the facility. I still look who's driving behind me, bro.
We went through a lot to get here, and we look forward to everything ahead, and just work with great people and continue to put out good quality products.
That's fire, man. Well, I appreciate you guys joining us. And I'm definitely glad we got to speak to the guys behind what won the best flower that we found on the West Coast last year. And I look forward to taking you up on the invite to check out some R&D, man.
Because it's not just us, bro. It's the whole team. None of us. It's not. It takes a whole tribe, bro. Everybody there is working hard. So it's a culture. For sure.
Open door policy for you guys.
Yep, come through, man. Love to show you.
Thanks so much. Respect my region. We really appreciate you guys, all the support, and giving us the opportunity to have a voice with you.
Hell yeah. Thank you. The North American Weed Tour podcast, episode 36 with Maven Genetics.